kind of hot in here. What's going on, people? It's your boy Brown Baldy here, coming into a reaction of a new video by the Critical Drinker. I've done a few videos of him before, and I love watching him. He's just great at what he does. You know, the way he critiques Hollywood, and the way things are going is just, the way he does it is just pure gold. So just, I like making reviews, and I like reacting to his videos, but either way, you know, while I appreciate all of the people who are watching me, please do not forget to subscribe to him, because he has a hell of a lot more videos. Credit where credit's due. Go to him first, because these are his videos. I'm just reacting to them. But with all that being said, I still appreciate you guys being here. Anyways, a new video came out earlier today.
A review of Ballerina a few days ago. The most obvious point of comparison was Furiosa, and it's not hard to see why. Both movies were female-led spin-offs from established male action franchises. Both starred pretty likable actresses playing well-rounded protagonists. Both came away with solid audience scores and positive critical reviews. There was no backlash, no negativity around them.
Damn. I love Anya Taylor-Joy. She is so damn gorgeous. Like, she's a great actress, like just amazing in every way. Not only is she gorgeous and beautiful, but she is a great actress. That woman can act. Full package. Nothing but respect and admiration for that woman.
No controversies or media firestorms, no actors shooting their mouths off.
It's Hollywood, baby.
And yeah,
for real,
both of them flopped at the box office. The question is, why? Well, this is where things get a bit
interesting. Well, yeah, I did hear. Well, I'm not sure about Ballerina. I think it's still relatively new. Barely came out so long ago, so it might still do better. But I did hear that Furiosa didn't do so well. Harikara. I haven't seen it. I haven't gotten around to it. I might make a reaction, or at the very least a review. But yeah, I heard it was a good movie, but like the title of this video says, maybe it's the fatigue. Maybe we're just, you know, because one thing, you know, if people want to see, no, I think people want to see Furiosa, and no, I think nobody will argue that when it came to the first, not the first, but the movie Fury Road, it's very apparent that, in my opinion, that Charlize Theron stole the show with her character Furiosa. But I think because everything that happened in between, the constant cramming of the female boss, you know, not that I have a problem with it. As a matter of fact, in one of my previous videos, I had expressed and even named several characters who were female-led movies, one in Harikara, and just great warrior woman who just stole all of our hearts, but they did it in the right way. You know, it's one thing for a girl to step up to these hardcore situations and do what they have to do, and it's one thing where they kind of just finger whack and put it in your face for the sake of, oh, you see, we can do it too, huh? Everything you can do, and it doesn't inspire enthusiasm. May not agree with it, but that's my opinion. If y'all have a different opinion, by all means, let me know. You know me, I'm always open to a different perspective. But either way, not rambling on.
Contentious, so pay attention, dear viewer, because we're taking a deep dive into the murky world of film franchises. One of the fundamental problems that both of these films struggled with is that it's always tricky to launch a spin-off from a franchise that's so heavily based around its central character. Franchises like Star Wars or Marvel or Star Trek are bigger than any one character or story, and so they lend themselves much more easily to spin-offs and side projects. It's more about the world than the people in it. Character-based franchises are a completely different story though, because they are the selling point. In this case, both John Wick and Mad Max soon became bigger and more memorable than the actual movies they were part of. Most people would probably struggle to remember the plots for John Wick 2 and 3, but man, they remember Keanu Reeves was fucking cool, and that's what they really gravitated towards.
Fuck yeah.
That right there is what kept them coming back for the next installment. Mad Max Fury Road kinda struggled with this problem because Mel Gibson had aged out of the role while the movies were on hiatus, forcing the studio to bring in a younger Tom Hardy to replace him. They more or less got away with that though, partly...
Not to mention, no offense to Tom Hardy, he's actually my favorite actor, but no offense to him, he wasn't that young either. I think when Fury Road came out, I think he was already about to scratch his 40s, but I could be wrong.
Because the awesome action scenes compensated for it, but also because there was still some kind of continuity there. Even if the actor might have changed, it was still the same character they'd come to know and love over the years. Both Furiosa and Eve from Ballerina didn't have the benefit of all that fan goodwill and attachment. They had to earn it like they were starting from scratch. They weren't piggybacking off the success of their predecessors, they had to stand on their own merits and earn it for themselves. Unfortunately, their studios didn't seem to understand this and budgeted both movies like they were mainline sequels. To put this into context,
Okay, so that's a good perspective. If I didn't misunderstand what he just said, like he mentioned, the biggest appeal of John Wick was Keanu Reeves' John Wick himself. How do you call it? Mad Max. Maybe Tom Hardy didn't have a lot of talking, but the Mad Max has been around for a long time, since the 70s. It started out with Mel Gibson. The first one was called Mad Max. The second one was called Road Warrior. Then there was a third one called Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And then eventually we got Fury Road, which also made a great video game called Mad Max. I definitely recommend it. But that aside, the point is, at the very least, even though Tom Hardy might not have been the most memorable Max ever, I think he did a good job. At the very least, the character of Mad Max was already cemented into us. And these both, Ana de Armas, who played Ballerina in the new movie that just came out, and Furiosa, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, even though everybody loved the character of Charlize Theron, she was still a side character, not as cemented as both male protagonists were. Mad Max, that was the fourth movie. John Wick has made it 4 movies as well. And this technically the 5th movie, but a spin-off. Point is, they haven't really earned that praise yet. And if the studios made the mistake of just cramming in all the money trying to cash in on the success, it's a 50-50, 80-20 hindsight, honestly. But yeah, maybe that's why it might not make it, because there's no saying don't keep all your eggs in one basket, and it looks like they did that on both movies.
The original John Wick brought in $86 million worldwide, which isn't exactly blowing the lid off the global box office, but it didn't have to. It only cost $20 million to make, and so that $86 million haul generated a nice little profit for the studio. Ballerina, on the other hand, is projected to make about $100 million worldwide, which would have been great news if the studio had the sense to budget it like the first John Wick. But they didn't. It cost $90 million to make, more than 4 times as much as the first movie, and so it needs to make 4 times more to turn a profit. And clearly it's not gonna make it. It's the same story with Furiosa. That film brought in $178 million worldwide, which would have been great news if it had cost 40 or 50 million, but it didn't. It cost $168 million. That's insane for a movie with an unproven character from a franchise that always specialized in low-budget action thrillers. My point here is that spin-offs generally don't generate as much interest or as much revenue as the original movies, and if both studios had been realistic about what these films could actually achieve and adjusted their expectations and budgets accordingly, they might have ended up turning a solid profit instead of being depressing flops. Now, that's the business side of the equation, but there's a much bigger problem that's brought down both of these films. A cultural backlash that's been building up for years now and has finally exploded harder than me after a particularly strenuous session with Tatiana. The fact is, audiences today are getting a bit fucking sick of Girlboss movies because they've had nothing but Girlboss movies shoved down their throats for the past decade or so. And in particular, they're sick of seeing their favourite male-led franchises getting taken over by unlikable, arrogant, abrasive and infallible feminist power fantasies, usually written by talentless hacks and embittered activists who they're commanded to like and respect simply because they've been crowbarred in to replace someone far more popular. Fan bases don't work like that. The big pop...
Yeah, and before he continues, it's true. How do you call it? That's not how it works. When it comes to franchises, fans, characters, it has to be earned. It really does. Like I said, these movies, from what I hear, they're not bad at all. had they just lowered their expectations, perhaps budgeted, say, you know what, let's take a small little risk and let's see what happens, No, because they made good profit so far. They invested way too much money, on both these things, hoping that they would pay off simply because they're already established franchise. They just failed to realize that these are characters, they're side characters. That's all they are. And they haven't built the same respect as the main characters. And so when you invest that much, sometimes you don't make that profit and it kind of messes it up. But that's just one part of the equation. Like Drinker's saying, there's the other part of the equation. That whole female boss, cram down your throat protagonist that nobody really cares for unless it is brought in a realistic way. Like, for example, I know I'm rounding on a lot here, but my favorite female protagonist, probably of all time, has to be Beatrix Kiddo, played by Uma Thurman in the Kill Bill franchise. Well, not a franchise. It's just two movies. Point is that she's an assassin. She She got killed by her boss / lover. Well, they tried to kill her. She survived. She went back for revenge because when they unalived her, she was also pregnant. And when she wakes up and slowly builds herself up to seek revenge against all her foes and to ultimately get to Bill, her ex-lover, boss, you understand where she's coming from. She is a mother who is grieving, trying to get vengeance, not just for what happened, but for her daughter, for her little baby that she lost. Another great example would be, honestly, they're all great. They're great examples because they're believable. If you want to put a female hero, make her a hero due to female circumstances that make sense. For example, Sigourney Weaver in the Alien franchise. What was her stick in the movie Aliens, the second movie? She wakes up from cryo sleep because basically in the first movie she gets stranded and then she has to put herself in cryo sleep because basically I think her ship lost the navigation and it had to go out of orbit. And there's no way she's going to survive, God knows, to when someone rescues her, etc. So she puts herself in cryo sleep. She wakes up almost 80 years into the future to realize that her daughter already died, that she can never be a mother. And then in the movie, they ask her to help her because they found a colony where there's more aliens and they want her expertise in order to rescue the people, etc. It's a whole big thing. The point is, she encounters a little girl and it becomes about that little girl, her protecting her, because that little girl becomes a surrogate, another chance to be a mother and a protector because she lost it. And you can empathize, sympathize with that kind of stuff. But when they just want to make a badass boss babe, they can do whatever man can. It just doesn't fit because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Even regular girls don't like this. It's just, I'm rambling on here, but that's what I'm trying to say.
Culture franchises are the most obvious and high-profile examples of this, but the truth is that it's spread to almost all facets of entertainment. Like, how many times have you been told that some old movie or TV show is getting a revival, updated for modern audiences of course, usually followed by sneering think pieces decrying the original as a dated relic of a less enlightened time, and fawning interviews with pretentious actors up on their soapboxes about how excited they are to bring a modern dimension to their formerly outdated characters. How many times have you seen your favourite male heroes brought out of cold storage just so they can be mocked, belittled, outperformed, and ultimately replaced by their idealized, overpowered female superiors? It's all happened so many times.
Yeah, and that's the other a great point. These established male characters that we know and love, the way they're just disrespected, and it's just horrible. And the fans, that's not how it is, because we know we know deep down it's just for some sort of spite. And what all these people need to do, if you really want to make something of your own. Make a whole new story, a whole new franchise, and see how that works out. Don't f*** our shit. Don't f*** the shit that we love already. I mean, you can want to, but to your own peril, of course. But if you want some free advice, make your own shit. See if it works. See if it works. But I digress. Rambling on too much. Sorry about that. I'll shut up.
times now that even the most easygoing, culturally neutral normies are just kind of fucking done with it. It's
For real.
exhausting and demoralizing, and most people just can't handle it anymore. And at worst, a good chunk of audiences are actively rebelling against it. And what's the end result of all this? Well, in blunt terms, the female action star is fucking dead now. Audiences have been burned so many times now that anytime a new female-led movie shows up, they basically roll their eyes and say, "Oh, here we fucking go, another girl boss."
Yeah,
They're unwilling
that's-
to give any female-led action movies a chance now, to the point where actual good and respectful examples like Furiosa and Ballerina all get lumped together and flushed down the same cultural toilet bowl as the watery shite excreted by Disney, Marvel and Amazon.
For
And when
real.
I think about it, that really is a shame, because believe it or not, there was once a time when we really did have it all. Go back as recently as the 2000s or even the early 2010s, and we had a whole bunch of established female-led franchises like Resident Evil, Underworld,
Thank you.
Tomb Raider, Kill Bill, and The Hunger Games. And you know what? Nobody fucking complained about them then. There were no boycotts or backlashes or cultural warfare raging around them. Nobody cared because they existed alongside male-led franchises instead of trying to replace them. There was enough room for everyone, and there still is today. The problem is that the well has been poisoned to such an extent that it's treated more like a battle to the death that only one side can walk away from, instead of a fun and vibrant genre that encourages new ideas and opportunities. One of the fundamental rules of the universe is that every action has a reaction, and if your action is to spend years shitting on male heroes just to elevate low-quality female replacements, then guess what? The reaction is that audiences will stop watching what you make, whether it's good or bad.
Or in wor- yeah, like he said, good or bad. And in the worst scenario, not even give it a chance. And it's a shame. It really is a shame, because for what I hear, both Furiosa and Ballerina, they're pretty good movies. Somebody had mentioned, or I don't know if I saw a review, I do forget. Somebody had mentioned in the Ballerina that one thing that really stood out is that when she was being trained as a young ballerina, I haven't seen the movie, this is what I heard, they really trained her to be agile and fast. They even told her, you will never be as strong as a male. That's true. Like, I mean, I don't know why it's so controversial to just admit that. You know, as a matter of fact, admitting that and then seeing a female character overcome that is what makes it amazing. Because we know that is a feat in itself. The point is, they were realistic about that. Hey, you're never gonna be able to overpower a male. So you gotta be agile, you gotta be fast, you gotta reach for that gun quick, and that's how they trained her. And that's why she's believable and almost beloved. It's just that all this fatigue, all this buildup, you know, how the critical drinker was saying, you know, we're just so tired of it that we don't even want to give it a chance. You know, I'm you know, and I'm no different either. I haven't. I do want to see Ballerina. I did want to see Furiosa, but there was a time where I would have been stoked, like, oh, I definitely have to see this. But no, because it's just the fatigue, like, oh, what if it sucks? And that's the way they poisoned the well, how he said, and it's a darn shame. Because now you can't even give movies, and it's not just these female-led character movies. They even do it to regular movies as well, where we always go on guard, and it's not just movies. It's games and everything. You know, you're always on guard because you never know when these people are going to try to inject, how he calls, the message into our games. We don't care about that shit. Just give us a good game. Give us a good game. And you know what happens? We open up our wallets and give you our money. But if you don't care about that, by all means, keep doing your shit. Whatever. But yeah, sorry about that. Rambled on again.
Female action star is dead because the girl, whether it's good or bad, the female action star is dead because the girl boss killed it. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Whew. Okay, so that was Critical Drinker. I rambled on a little bit more, but because he's so right. That's why I love watching The Critical Drinker, because he hits everything right on the money, you know. And it's a darn shame, because we want to as an audience, as fans, just to go over there and enjoy a movie, but we can't because they've fucked around with it so much that you're just scared. You go on guard. Even I advocate every time a new movie comes out Find a friend, someone who doesn't really care, and just pay him one ticket, and then let him go spoil it for us. We don't even care at this point, because you never know, man, that they've done it. They even done it because they're very tricky. Don't ever underestimate, the industry's ability to purposely make a good first movie and then fuck it up in the next. Just to reel you in, we got them hooked like in sinker. Now we can really make what we want to make, which is their stupid crap. And next thing you know, we go all stoked up for the second movie, think it's going to be, and then it's just utter trash. And it ruins the whole experience for us. But yeah, if they want to keep doing that, just by all means keep doing that. And it's to their own detriment, because, all this is based on fans, putting out their wallets to pay for entertainment. And if you lose your fans, then the money is eventually gone. And that means you're gone eventually. But I digress. Either way, that was my take on The Critical Drinker. I hope you all like my reaction. And if you like my reaction, you have it in you, please do me a favor. Give me a like and subscribe, comment, share, keep this community growing. And this is your boy Brown Baldy. Thank you so much for joining me. And you all have a good rest of your night. And you all take care.